director yourself.
Years of experience, Jim. Okay, very good.
Well, I couldn't do this for anything in the world, what you do.
Well, Jim, we met once before very briefly, as we say in Texas, a quick howdy.
Quick howdy.
in the elevator. At the time, I had not seen the picture. I was on my way to see the picture. Although I heard people talking about saying, wow, some kind of picture. It was the most extraordinary experience because I can't remember the last time I saw a movie where the audience clapped 5 or 6 times. Is this the kind of reaction you've been getting?
Well, I don't know if, presumably we weren't at the same screening, but I've only seen the film with an audience once, and they were very responsive to the film, which is fun for me. That's what keeps me going. And this is not the easiest work, as you might imagine. Basically, sort of, it's taken me a year and a half out of my life, and I mean, right out of my life, to do this film. And that's the payoff when I see people respond that way to a movie. That's the fun part.
Jim, I'm going to share something with you, and I had a little reluctance about whether or not I should, but I will anyway. When I saw Alien, and I reviewed it, I said, it just came out, that I was totally grossed out by the first one. Maybe because it was such a new experience, whatever.
Right.
Anyway, I said in my review, now if you still insist on seeing this movie, and I gave it great marks for filmmaking, etc., but I said, if you still insist on seeing this gross movie, you better take along a barf bag and an extra pair of pants. Well, the line has haunted me ever since. But
are you going to say that about this film?
what I'm going to say about this film is, you better take along a paramedic, is what I'm going to say. Wow.
Well, I don't know how you feel about it, but we tried to make a film that was as good as the first film without being as gross as the first film. And to do that, we had to offer something in its place, which was an excitement factor or an exhilaration or something else, some other emotion. And I personally like action served up, nice and hard and lean and fast, and that's what we tried to do. And I'd say the last 30 minutes of the film pretty much delivers in that area. So I think that if people expect this to be as gory as or gorier than the first film, if that was bothersome to them, I don't think it will affect them as much in this film. For those that demand that, I think they'll be distracted by other things and they'll forget about that. That's my fond hope anyway.
Also, in this movie, you have extraordinary hardware, weapons, explosions, fire. I mean, it's just, it's like World War III up there on the screen. And then Sigourney, the stuff that she does with the weapon. Now, was Sigourney at all reluctant to do that stuff with the gun?
Well, Sigourney herself as a person doesn't like guns. And I understand that, and I respect that. The reason that she didn't have a problem with it as an actor in this film is because she wasn't shooting at people. I think it would be very hard for her to do a scene where she was in a combat situation with other people. But here she's fighting this elemental alien force, these things, basically. And it doesn't have the same moral connotation, I don't think, even though the imagery is the same. There she is with the machine gun, so to speak. But and that's why it worked for her as an actress.
When I saw those fires and everything, I thought, my gosh, Pinewood's insurance must have gone up 1,000%.
Well, some of the hairier effects were done on location in an abandoned power station, and it was made completely out of steel and concrete, and we were able to go pretty much hog wild with the pyrotechnics. And also a lot of it was done in miniature, and hopefully the blend off between the full size and the miniature is smooth enough that you don't always know what you're seeing. But Pinewood, of course, was nervous about fire in general because their big Bond stage, which was their pride and joy, burned down a year or two ago. So I was a little worried about that when we went in there because I knew what we were going to be doing.
They said the pyros are back.
The pyros, the pyromaniacs are back.
I'm wondering if Aliens 3 is in the typewriter.
Oh, not for me, it's not. I think Fox will want to see how this film does, and if they're still enthusiastic about, or if they become enthusiastic about a continuation beyond the film that Gail and I made, then they'll have to pursue that in their way, meaning find a writer, find a director, because we'll be on to something else, I think, some new territory.
But if the money were right...
No, I don't think so. At this point, you know, the way I work on films and the way my wife, who produced this film, works, we throw ourselves into the picture right from pre-production through the end of post-production. It takes us a year to a year and a half to do a film, and that means that maybe a career will only be 10 or 12 films. You can't stay in doing the same thing over and over again.
Jim, who has influenced your style of directing and the look of your films? And I'm thinking mostly, of course, of Terminator and this film. So what's been the influence, or who has been the influence?
It's hard to narrow down. I mean, I think that watching any film, no matter how good or how bad, you learn things about how to use a camera, you know, how to work with actors. I mean, you can watch a John Cassavetes film for emotional interaction, or a Bergman film, or a Hitchcock film, or a Spielberg film, and learn something from all of them. And I think to try and limit it to a specific person as an influence is not. It's too limiting. It's hard for me to answer that question. I would say that if I wanted to emulate someone, it would be somebody like Steven Spielberg, who somehow captures a little bit of humanity and a childlike quality in all his films. I don't know if my films resemble his films. I don't think they do. They're a little, you know, they tend to be a little more intense. I mean, you know, a little grittier. But anyway, I respect his movies, but I like a lot of different filmmakers.
Well, again, congratulations. I think you have a monumental hit on your hands. And for a person who is not just a science fiction addict, I enjoyed it tremendously.
Good,
I really did.
Thank you. That's the best compliment if you're not a fan of the genre.
I don't mean I put it down always.
Or not a fanatic.
But not a fanatic, right. Jim, nice talking with you. I really enjoyed meeting you, and also I enjoyed talking with Gail.
Thank you very much.
Could you hold tape, please, TC? We'll do...
Oh, okay.
Quiet, please.
Jim, when I reviewed Alien, I said I liked the filmmaking very...
Just a minute,
Okay.
Bobbie. Excuse me, Bob. Okay. We're going to do some re-asks right now, okay? It's yours, Bob.
Okay. Jim, I have to tell you that when I reviewed Alien, the first one, I ended up the review. I gave it good marks for filmmaking and said a lot of good things about it, but I was grossed out by that movie. And I said to people, if you still want to see it, just remember to take along a barf bag and an extra pair of pants. No, what I'm going to say about this film is take along a paramedic. What I plan to say about this film is take along a paramedic. You have a tremendous amount of weaponry, of fire, of explosions, and that sort of thing. Pinewood's insurance must have gone up 1,000%. Was Sigourney at all reluctant to use that gun? Jim, is there any particular director who's had an influence on the look and the style and the feel and the action of your movies? Is Aliens 3 in the typewriter? But if the price were right, Oh, okay. Let me just give reactions.